Tervetuloa mukaan taas Kompleksisen kaksikon matkaan. Mun nimi on Ville
Ja mä oon Karla.
ja tänään meillä onkin vähän erikoisjakso, eli tänään taas menemme englannin kielellä ja tekstit tosiaan löytyy sitten tähän videoon tuolta CC-nappia painamalla. Mutta lähdetään liikkeelle sen pidemmittä puheittaa. We are so proud to have this guest on our podcast. Welcome, Charles Mattocks. I
Thank you for
think
having me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we are going to have a great conversation today.
I
Mm,
think so.
yeah, you made a film called Trial by Fire about your and your mother's journey with CRPS.
Yeah.
How did you came up with the idea to document your journey?
You know, my mother had probably CRPS for a few years, and I didn't understand it. This was a few years ago. This is before some of the information that's out now is out, and so it wasn't a lot of information. And I would just see her in really kind of, hurting in bad shape, and I would kind of just say, hey, mom, try to do this or try to exercise or, go to the gym or work it out. Or, I had no idea really what she was dealing with because, I had never heard of CRPS before. And what I saw online back then, there wasn't really a whole lot where I could really get a full understanding. And, that's why a lot of people right now, they have family members, they might be a husband or a wife who they don't understand what their partner is going through. Um, because it doesn't, there's no outside, effects of CRPS. So one day we were there and she had mentioned, now this is a proud Jamaican woman and who, has fought through a lot. And she had mentioned something about wishing that she wasn't here. And I thought, that doesn't sound like my mother. My mother would never say anything like that, especially with her religious beliefs and things like that. So I remember going into the dining room and going online, and I started to do a little bit more research on YouTube. And I found, I think it was a guy who was dealing with CRPS, and he was talking about the pain and how bad it was, and wishing that, that he wasn't here anymore. And I thought, wow, okay. So that's when I kind of said, you know what? I want to do a little bit more diving into this. I want to kind of tell this story. So that's when I started to do a little bit more research on it and really kind of understand what it was. And, me being a filmmaker and in the business, I thought, you know what? I would love to create a documentary on this subject and tell my mom's story, but not just her story, but the story. And that's kind of how I got into it. I then kind of reached out to a couple of people. I think it was the RSDSA, the nonprofit, the big one for RSD and CRPS. And, then I started to reach out to some local people because I was in Orlando at the time, and it was a big support group run by a lady called Nancy Cotterman, and she welcomed me in and said, "Hey, come, let's talk. Let's see about helping you get this thing off the ground." And really, that's how I started the whole process.
Yeah, that sounds so like important, and also because you have this podium, so you use it also for good. And I have to say, I have had CRPS now for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And when I got the diagnosis, I basically had to Google it also, and realized really quickly that there is not much information in Finnish. Like basically, couple like websites.
Wow.
But in English there was more, and still there's not much in English either. But still it was better than in Finnish. So that's also the reason behind of our work, mine and Ville's, that we are doing on social media, is to spread that awareness and also give information for patients.
Yeah.
I think that point of view also, like, it's important that you're like family member of CRPS patient, that you're not just like any filmmaker. So you have the personal connection also in this situation where the patients are.
Yeah.
How was your mother? Like, was she straight away?
No, you know what?
Yeah.
My mom was not easy to deal with. She's never been easy to deal with. But so I said, hey, Mom, I want to do a documentary on you. And I don't think she took it serious. And she had moved, she was staying in Atlanta because she lives in Florida. So she went to go visit my brother's ex-wife, and she was staying there. And she was supposed to see a doctor in Atlanta who was going to do something with her with CRPS, and that didn't work for whatever reason. It didn't pan out. And I had talked to Dr. Hannah in Florida, who does a lot of work with CRPS patients and using ketamine, and I literally started shooting this documentary, and or I can't remember if I started shooting, but I was going to, but it was kind of like a blow, because I'm like, you're supposed to be the star of this documentary, and you don't really want to be in the documentary. So I then said, you know what, I'm going to start this anyhow. So I started shooting Nancy and Hannah and a lot of other people around it, with the hopes that I can eventually get her in. Because it wouldn't have made any sense if, my mom wasn't in the film. So long story short, that doctor didn't work out in Atlanta. So I said, well, you know what? I had talked to Dr. Hannah, and I talked to him about treating her with the ketamine. And he said, yeah, he would do it. So I kind of made a deal with him. I said, listen, if you treat her, for no cost, I will, film this process and get this whole thing shot and make this documentary. And so I then told her about that, and she was still reluctant, but she eventually said, okay, she was going to do it. So she came to stay with me, and I literally had to, not only try to film, because I was filming myself, but then take her every morning to get treatment, which was, very hard in itself, because by the time she was done with the treatment, she was, really out of it. So I had to get her in the car, and then she would drive home just totally out of it, and then, get her upstairs, put her in the bed and let her sleep for a while, and then get up in the morning and do the same thing. And, so it was really, really hard. But eventually, we were able to get some great footage, the best that I could. I actually shot the film probably 99% myself, because we didn't really have a big budget for it. And where I live, there wasn't the quality of cameraman that I was finding, and I didn't want to spend, $800-900 for 2 or 3 hours worth of footage. So I said, you know what? I had a decent camera, and I said, I'm just going to get out there and try to do this myself. I have no idea, but as a filmmaker, I'm a director, but I didn't know that side of things, but I figured, you know what, I got a camera, I'll get a microphone, and I'll do the best I can. And so it was a process in learning, and but it worked, the
And I
film.
think that it brought also like this very personal touch there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
through your eyes, and I think it's actually like how you say, like a blessing in hides. How you say?
yeah, in
Is that the
disguise,
right
yeah.
way to say? I don't know.
Blessing in disguise, yeah.
Exactly. That's I was like translating from Finnish. It didn't work out.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
think that
remember.
every healthcare professional should see this film
Yeah.
also. It's very eye-opening. And what kind of feedback did you receive when you release it? from medical?
Well, it was amazing. I mean, I initially put it in a film festival. I think it was in North Carolina, and end up winning my first award, for best
Amazing.
documentary. Yeah. And so that was exciting. And then we put it in a bunch of other film festivals. And I think total, we probably won about 10, 11 awards around the world. The film has been seen all around the world in probably 30, 40 countries and been seen by millions of people, has been on, all these major platforms. It's on Amazon Prime right now and Apple TV and Tubi and the feedback was amazing. I mean, it really told the story that was the story that I saw back then. Because when I was introduced to it, this is, a few years ago, this is the story that I saw. I didn't know anything else. I didn't know anything about, there wasn't a lot of other treatment. It wasn't, a holistic approach. There wasn't, many other devices that people are using. It was really just people who didn't have any, options, didn't have any hope, and just fighting the best that they could through it. So, you know, obviously years have passed. I've learned a lot more. I've seen a lot more. I've dealt with, a lot more in the space. And that's one of the reasons why we're working on a new documentary, because, we really want to kind of tell a little bit more of the story, because it's not all doom and gloom. It's, while it can be a very debilitating situation, I've seen my mother go from this, happy, smiling person who was always exercising and eating healthy to being bedridden right now, where she, just lays in the bed 24 hours of the day and can't barely move, her arms. And so that's really a sad situation. But um, it has always, the friends that I've met in CRPS along over the years have really touched me, because they've become like family to me. Because while I don't have CRPS, I feel the pain. And every day I get messages from around the world. Every day I get long emails with people, telling me how bad they are and what's going on, and, how the film has helped them. Because the film has also helped, like you mentioned, healthcare providers should see this, but a lot of times it's just as important as your husband or your wife or your kids seeing this, because a lot of times someone is in pain, and that husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend or child, they don't know what that person is dealing with. And it's hard to, if you can't be touched a certain way, or if you can't, if your mood swings are dramatic, and, you feel dealing with a lot of pain, it's hard for someone to understand that. So when people have seen the film, they've said, Charles, you know what? It wasn't until until watching this film that my husband or my wife actually finally understood what I was dealing with.
Mm. Yeah. I must say, when I get diagnosed in 2017 and my doctor said that I had this CRPS, I am very lazy about get any information or anything. I was at, okay, that's fine, I get that. Uh, but then after a while, I found your movie and I was watching and I was like, oh shit, and that was it. So
Mhm.
uh, that gave me the first information, and I like it very a lot, because it's there's nothing that is not true. That
Yeah.
it's all
It's very
true.
honest. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very
yeah,
honest. Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
I like that a lot, because
And also, like what you said about the families and spouses and children and other people close to CRPS patients, you're really right, because we have been speaking about that also here in our podcast before a lot. how difficult it is for us patients to try to express how what we are going through, but then also for the family around, how they can support, how they can understand. And at least in Finland, there's not support available for family members. We patients might get some psychological support, but for the families, because I have been asking for help also for the family, but they don't like, it's not something that the healthcare thinks about that it's necessary, which is really weird, because when someone is getting CRPS, the whole family in a way gets it. It affects in every single thing in your life.
You know, the sad thing is that, you know, a lot of these conditions are based on money is a big factor, right? So there's no big money being made in pharmaceutical drugs or big pushes that companies can benefit off of this, so that you're not going to see much by way of advocacy or any real information or doctors getting behind this, because I hear it all the time. People go to the emergency room or the hospital, and these nurses and doctors have never heard of CRPS, and
it's same
so that
here.
Unfortunately,
it's same here.
And then a lot of them think that it's inside their head, and they think that they're just trying to get medication, that they're looking for drugs to take medication. And I've heard it all. And actually, I forget the time frame, but I think it's an average of almost a year or more before someone is actually diagnosed with CRPS, because, once again, people are looking at, I'm sure, other, issues. Maybe it's arthritis, maybe it's some sort of pain related to this, that, and whatever it might be. And once again, if a doctor is not familiar with CRPS, that's not going to be one of the first things they think of. So people go and they're in pain for a certain amount of time before they even get a diagnosis. And then at that point, it's trying to figure out what to do. And, a lot of people are just lost and confused, and everything is very expensive. And, I have a young lady from South Africa who has reached out to me, and just probably like where you're from, there's little to no information, there's little to no support, there's little to no doctors or treatment. And then they're dealing with money issues. So if you can't afford, to fly somewhere else, or, whatever little treatment that they probably don't have there, it becomes a daunting situation. And I think she's got a pretty bad case of it, where I think even she can't even wear certain clothes or touch and things like that. So if you can't do that, then you can't work. And if you can't work, you really can't afford to fly and get other treatment, right? Because, I'm sure the money that they live on in South Africa may not be enough by the government to deal with this. So a lot of people are in bad shape because they're not able to work. They're not able to go out and support themselves the way that they were doing before,
That's true. And this is very good when you're telling all this, because the things in around the world are different in other countries. You are currently working on a new film. Does it have the same perspective as your first one?
No, this one is about hope. This one is about hope. And I say that because, while there's always going to be the pain, at times we have to make, we call it the new normal, right? And at times we have to try to cope with what we have the best we can, and live with it the best we can. right? And try to, you know, have a family, work, uh, you know, go through the days the best way we can. And I think this one is more about telling some more stories from around the world, and understanding what CRPS is like for different people around the world. So for someone in South Africa, it's going to be very different than maybe someone who lives in New York. For someone in Finland, it may be very different than it is for someone in London. So kind of understanding what the system is like. That's one of the reasons why we'd love to get some footage out where you guys are at, just to understand what's not there, why it's not there, and what can be done. But then also look at the new approaches that people are taking. There's new, you know, devices. There's a lot of holistic approaches. There's certain new treatments that people are trying. I recently had a young lady. I don't know if you know her, Tosh. She's from I forget which part of the world, but she was in very, very bad shape. This was recently. And when I mean bad shape, I mean bad shape. And even to the point where she put together some money to head to some part of the country in the United States. And she got taken off the plane because of the shape that she was in. I guess they felt like she could have been a threat to herself or maybe to others or whatever it might have been. And when I saw that, I mean, she was literally crying in a wheelchair, and she had to take her bags and push it through a wheelchair, and she couldn't get on a plane for like 2 days or whatever like that. And she ended up going to this facility, and literally, I want to say she was there for maybe about a week. This girl left there hopping and skipping and jumping around. And this was just based on um, natural holistic treatment. So to see her go from that to where she is now was mind blowing. So there is hope. And you know, I'm working with a new gentleman. His name is Chase, and he's out of Houston, Texas, and he's treating people. He had CR or has CRPS, and he was able to. He was also in very bad shape, and he is treating people the same way that he finally kind of treated himself and pulled himself out of the hole through a holistic approach. And I've seen some of his success stories, and um, he's doing amazing work. And obviously, he's a success story. So we really kind of want to tell this from a perspective of, you know, what people are dealing with in different parts of the world, how they're dealing with it, what options are there, why aren't there more options, but then also find some success stories where you could say, you know what, there is a glimmer of hope. And if you keep fighting and if you keep working, because you know this is something that, you know, sometimes when I post on our page on Trial by Fire, I can post something that literally says this person can heal you, or this treatment can heal you. And I'm not sure. I don't know if maybe some people have gotten to the point where they don't believe, or maybe they're settled in a way with their condition. But you don't see the amount of traction that I would like to see and hope to see, right? Because if Chase is offering holistic treatment, and he's offering it for a very low price, and something that anybody could probably afford, even if you don't have a lot of money, because he's wants to work with people. He should be flooded with, you know, we have almost 8,000 people on that page. He should have 7,000 people contacting him saying, listen, we want in. He may have gotten a couple of hundred, because I know he said that, you know, it went really well. But, and I think, even for my mom, trying to get her treatment was like pulling teeth at times. I don't know if she was reserved to the fact that felt like this was her plot in life, but I would say, hey, mom, let's do this or let's do that. Or I would bring people over there, who would come in just to help me out because they knew me and wanted to help her out. And it was like she would chase them away, like she, didn't really want the treatment. And so I think that we can't really make change unless, Bob Marley once said, which was my uncle, he once said it takes a revolution to make a solution. And you can't make change in CRPS unless there's a bigger voice.
Mm.
And we have to work together. I know that, a lot of people may not be so familiar with the internet or whatever it may be, but even when I post something, all I ask for is a share. All I ask for is a like. And you post something thinking this is going to get a lot of views, it's going to get a lot of shares, and you're like, man, it didn't get what I was hoping for. And I'm busting my behind to fight for CRPS, and all I ask for is a like or a share. So you have to be more unified in CRPS. And that's very important because that's the only way to get people to pay attention. Because the pharma companies and the big companies aren't going to pay attention if there's no noise being made.
That's
If you show up at the Capitol doors of the White House, or if you show if 300 people block the doors at the Finland government facility, then they may say, hold on, what is going on? But
yeah, and
if
I think also that the international like cooperation is also really needed.
yeah,
And I think that it must have been a little bit different 10 years ago and before that, maybe. Now I think that at least I feel that my CRPS community is really international.
yeah,
But I think that there should be like different organizations, like associations
yeah.
and foundations should do more work together
Yeah,
worldwide.
I think the issue with that is there's so much at times because there is one like RSDSA
Yeah,
is supposed to be
yeah,
but they didn't have a good president or CEO, whatever he was, um, and I don't think and they're not with the times. They should be making documentaries, not me. You know what
exactly.
I'm saying? They should be putting out podcasts, not us. They should be flooding the internet with little clips and things like that, because the, the 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 advocacy at times is more important or just as important as finding a cure. Because once again, you have to create the movement for other people to want to be involved in the movement, right? If you find some CEO or somebody at some pharma company that says, "Wow, I never heard about that, but I want to look into that because I saw, or heard all of this information online. I bumped into this. I never knew it." You got, I think Paula. They've been saying Paula Abdul, has CRPS, but Paula Abdul never talks about it.
Yeah, we have been,
Paula,
yeah, sorry, we have been talking, me and Ville, a lot about that there, like, I think that the big change will happen when there's someone high enough
yeah,
that they get CRPS
yeah,
or someone close to them will get CRPS. And of
yeah.
course, I don't wish that to anyone. No,
No,
no
no.
way, of course. But that's at least as a patient, that feels like the situation.
Well, the interesting thing is that they could have CRPS. It could be a few people that have CRPS, but just would never say it
Mm. That's
because
true.
of the stigma, because of them maybe not wanting to put their job or their career in jeopardy. Maybe Paula Abdul, if she would have said she had CRPS, um, maybe people wouldn't have wanted to hire her for American Idol or for another position. But, I think that, this time that we have on this earth is very short. And if you don't stand for something, you fall for everything.
Mm.
And, I know I want to be known for something and leave some sort of legacy, just like you guys have started your own podcast. You could have easily just, hid in a corner and you felt sorry about yourself, but you said, you know what? No, we're going to tell our story and we're going to try to inspire other people. And I think if we all think like that, if we all think, all the people who are dealing with CRPS said, you know what? We're going to tell our story. We're going to try to inspire other people. Then the voice would be made much louder, much greater. And, I wouldn't have to fight to get a documentary made on this condition. I wouldn't have to fight to try to put this together. It would be much easier.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well said. But that's all true
Yeah.
because I'm not any celebrity or anything like that, but I get very much angry comments and all that in ATV community because always I cannot do what I said because people don't understand that I have a pain disease, that always I don't always can't even walk, so how
Yeah.
I could ride. So that's, I think, many people are afraid that some people would say something bad to you, but I think we must get that bad comments also to get recognized and get our pain disease to get some light and all that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, you almost answered this question already, but uh, were there any moments during the filming in the Trial by Fire first one that were particularly difficult for you to relieve or share?
Yeah, I think the main one probably was the passing of Hannah, because she was such a sweet young girl. And I remember, one time we were in Dr. Hannah's office and I had asked her mother. She was in the room getting ready to get some treatment. I said, "Hey, I'd love to film Hannah." And her mother was like, "No, no, I don't think so right now," or whatever like that. And maybe like 5 minutes later, she came back and said, "Hannah wants to do it." So Hannah chose herself. Her mother probably was being a little protective over her, but Hannah knew that she had a story that she wanted to tell. She knew that she wanted to get this out. And so I went in there and we filmed, and unfortunately, she passed away. Um, I don't know how. I didn't really ask too many questions. I guess it's called the suicide disease for a reason, but I'm not speculating that that was the cause. But she was a very smart girl, and so that kind of shocked me because this was, I want to say it was during the filming. So it was sometimes I wonder, I'm like, I think she really wanted to tell her story on this film, and she wanted to get that out there. So that was a hard one. And then, obviously looking at, my mother's case, who she didn't get any relief from the ketamine. And that was just, sad to see that kind of not work out and the progression of everything. But I would say Hannah's was probably this was really interesting, because in what I do, and, obviously I make television shows and movies on health, and, it becomes very tedious in a sense of you have to now deal with all these emotions. You have to deal with people's pain. You have to deal with people who come to you and they're in tears and they're writing long messages. And there's even been a few times where I've had to try to talk people out of, taking their own life from this. And I don't even know them. I mean, recently I had a young lady, and this was probably about a year ago, and she would always send me nice messages and encourage me, and she had CRPS, and literally she was like a light, and I would always say something to her back, and she'd always take the time out to speak, and I remember saying, hey, if you need anything, let me know. If you need to talk anytime, let me know. And then I didn't hear from her for probably maybe about 2 weeks, because she would always pop up at least on Facebook at least once or twice a week saying, Charles, how are things? How are you? Love what you're doing. And then I had somebody contact me, and they said that she took her life. And I just thought, I'm like, man, what did I miss? What could I have done? You know what I'm saying? What I wish I would have known more. I wish I would have said more. I wish I could have done something to encourage her that day not to do that. So, this has been a journey. It's been a ride. It's been but I do say that, after Trial by Fire, this second film, I'm passing the torch, and it's one of those things where I think I've done as much as I could do, because I've been on all the talk shows talking about it. There's been articles all around the world and all the news magazines and outlets. I've even been as far as Amsterdam to have a screening for Trial by Fire. Um, so I think that it's one of those things where I think with this film, hopefully it'll give you guys the energy to get out there and take over from where I'm leaving off and keep the fight going.
For sure, and you're such an inspiration, and it's also like I feel that at least for me as a patient, it's so important that there is also healthy people interested, because what I have noticed is that like me and Ville also, when we are doing our work, there's always the factor which is CRPS. So to make difference, make impact, we need also aliens like from healthy people who have the capacity to go also forward when we are not physically or mentally able to go. And I always say thank you for those patients who have been before us, because they have, every single person has made the path for us, and you're of course one of those big path makers. Big shoes.
I'm trying.
And it's important, and there is as much as we like individuals we can do, but when we are together as a community, then we can make bigger impact. And that was first my reason why I started to share my life in social media, in my CRPS Elämä, which is here. The logo was that I couldn't find a community for myself when I got diagnosed. And to get peer support, and also like give peer support, and then later it became like this advocate work. That wasn't my idea, but that just happened.
Sometimes you got to get in where you need it,
Exactly. And in a way, I feel also that it has given me some kind of purpose. I don't say that I'm happy that I got CRPS. Nobody is happy about that. But at least now when I have it, I feel that I have purpose.
Yeah.
I can maybe do at least a bit of change.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it does feel good to, and my initial, venture into this line of things came from my own diagnosis with type 2 diabetes. So that kind of led me to become an advocate. Fortunately, I was able to reverse mine, but it led me into this whole health space where I saw a moment where I could really advocate for change and really fight for people who couldn't fight for themselves, even if they didn't know that they needed to fight. Because at times, this is a selfless thing where, you may not get a thank you from anybody, while you're fighting as an advocate. You may not get a keep up the good work. You may not get a share or a like or even a comment. But, you kind of put that to the side and realize, you know what, I'm going to just keep doing what I need to do, because there are people that, you are affecting, and they may not say anything, or may not say anything when we expect them to, but you may get some long email or some long message where people say, you know what, thank you. Thank you. And then you realize that you got to keep doing what you're doing, because there's somebody who may not have the same energy or power that you have, that really can't make a podcast, that can't make a movie, that can't get out there and try to bring people together. They don't have it in them. So they look to people like us who can keep that fight going for them. So congrats on the work you're doing in Finland. I mean, I did say I would love to come out there. So if you guys can figure out a way to get me out there, I'd love to come tell your story. And because I think that, we need to see what CRPS looks like in a place like where you're at, because there needs to be someone who can understand and try to, get some help for people in other places, because, Finland can be a catalyst for other parts of the world. Because if there's, let's say 30 people or 50 people in a small town or in a small city that have CRPS, well, they need help, they need treatment. And we need to see what that looks like,
Exactly. And I think that we would be thrilled if you come here and take this opportunity with open arms, because there is a necessary need here in the Nordic countries to step up with any kind of chronic pain, but of course, especially of CRPS, there should be new ways to treat us and think about us, and like, maybe I can say this aloud, but my and Ville's goal is that when someone is here in Finland thinking about CRPS, they think about two of us. So we would love to be able to do our advocate job or work like really in a bigger scale. And it means that we have to work really hard. But we're willing to do that. By the way, have you been here in Finland before?
No, I would love
to.
That's why I was saying I would love to. And the good thing is, if I come, I'm sure I could end up doing some good TV and some good press. We could utilize some of what who I am and what I've done, and we can kind of do some news interviews. I'm sure they would love that, and we can garner some attention.
Yeah. Now we are asking the whole Finnish CRPS community to use all the connections, and so we
There's
could
gotta
find
there's gotta
funding
be
for Charles to come here and then
there's
send
gotta be some rich Finnish person who's got a business out there that would mind putting a few dollars in there to help that,
we have only 5 million people living in Finland, so everybody knows each other. So
Exactly.
we must find the
Exactly.
way.
Exactly.
That would be amazing, and I think that's important for our community and for us to get treatments, help, and diagnosis.
Yeah.
And
That
vice
could really...
versa, we will come to States after that when you are coming here.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
Yeah, we are willing to come also there.
I would love to drive a motorcycle in Route 66. I
Route
would
66.
love that.
There you go. Love it.
I hope I can someday do that. That would be
I'm
nice.
sure you will, brother. I'm sure you will.
I will. Yeah. How about, let me check, because we are checking all of our answers, questions already, almost.
Yeah, we are coming to the end of our episode. Is there something, Charles, that you would like to say? Is there something you haven't said already?
I would say that there's a beautiful community of people with CRPS, and there are some new things out there that are helping people, and look into those, because living with CRPS is not a nice thing, and there is some hope, and make sure you contact people, make sure you spread the word, make sure you share that like button, so even someone who's watching this right now, make sure you spread the word. I don't care if you know one person or 10 people. Share that like button, press that like button, share, comment, continue to help people who are trying to help others. It's very important, because we can't do it without the people who are watching or listening. So let's see if we can try to heal as many people as we can. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Charles, for joining us on our podcast.
Yes.
We really hope the dream of filming in Finland comes true. That would be so crazy.
And also so important. That would help also the whole community of CRPS patients.
And let me know how I can help. Like I said, if you have someone who is, even if it's a business person who has a business, who is doing okay, if you want to just connect me to them, and I can kind of talk to them. If you want to send an email and say, hey, Charles, this is Jacob, and they have a business and they might be interested in being a part, I'll feel free to have a call with them and let them know, and what they can, we can give them a credit on the movie, but also they can support a good cause. So definitely, don't think you have to do this by yourself. Send people my way, and I will, send them some information. That way they can know, who I am and what we do and what we've done, and how this can help many people. So.
Exactly. And please share also this episode.
Of course.
Because there is now, you have been sharing so much about why you're doing this, and what you have already done. We will, for sure, we will contact all of our partners and send this episode. So I think this will happen, because I believe that what you wish, that will happen. So I'm now wishing this, manifesting this to happen.
I think it will. So, all right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
I look forward to, keep me posted. I'm ready to jump on a plane and come out there to the cold.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Welcome.
We will take you to sauna. Good. Thank you so much.
All right,
Thank you. Bye.
Sellainen jakso meillä tänään. Kiitos Ville sulle, kun olet tämän yhteyden meille saanut Charlesin kanssa ja kiitos kaikille kuuntelijoille ja katselijoille. Mikäs fiilis sulle jäi, Ville, tästä?
Tosi hyvä. Lähinnä semmoinen, että pitää varmaan alkaa jättää vieraspetiä tuosta jo oikomaan, kun oli sen verran fiiliksissä jo tänne tulossa, että eihän tässä nyt kerkeä enää hyvää, kun kerkee nukkumaan ja suihkussa käymään, niin se on tuossa oven takana.
Kyllä.
Mutta jotenkin usko siihen, että kun kuitenkin ajatellaan, että tämmöinen niin kuin toiselta puolelta maailmaa tässä niin kuin höpöteltiin ja kuitenkin niin kuin samalla asialla ja ollaan niin samanlaisia sitten se porukan tiiviys, niin ei tämä voi olla kuin hyvä juttu.
Ei, ja varmaan, tai ainakin toivon, että kaikki kuuntelijat ja katselijat niin kuin ymmärtää sen, miksi me ollaan oltu tästä jotenkin niin myös innostuneita siitä ajatuksesta, että jos me saadaan tämän kuuluisa henkilö, jolla vielä oikeasti on niin kuin valtavasti sitä tietoa ja ymmärrystä, niin saadaan niin kuin tänne Suomeen puhumaan meidän CRPS-potilaiden puolesta. Mä uskon, että hän varmasti saisi meidän mediassa huomiota.
Kyllä.
Ei varmasti
Joten...
ole, niin kuin, että jos tämä olisi se pieni pusku tuonne meidän päättäjienkin suuntaan, että mehän sitten tietenkin Villen kanssa tehdään niskailemassa töitä siitä, että me kerrotaan Charlesille sitten tarkemmin, että mikä se tilanne täällä Suomessa on ja mikä se todellisuus on, mikä meillä on täällä.
Joten jos siellä...
Oikeasti aidosti siis kaikki kuuntelijat, jos teillä vaan on mitään kontakteja, vaikka säätiöihin, jotka tukee tämän tyyppisiä hankkeita tai on jotain muita yhteyksiä. Ja siis sanotaanko myös, että pienistä puroista kasvaa joki. Että tämähän ei tarkoita myöskään, että yhden tahon pitää olla rahoittamassa tätä Suomeen tuloa. Mutta olkaa meihin yhteydessä, niin me voidaan teidät sitten yhdistää Charlesiin ja otetaan kaikki ideat vastaan. Älkää tee liikaa, miettikö, onko tämä nyt liian pientä tai muuta.
Kyllä.
Että tämä on tästä semmoinen meidän tavoite, että me päästään mukaan tuohon elokuvaan, joka tulee siis Netflixiin myös. Joo, me nähdään Villen kanssa tässä nyt suuri mahdollisuus levittää tietoutta ja saada täällä Suomessa myös meille enemmän näkyvyyttä potilasryhmänä ja meidän sairaus.
CRPS Suomi maailman kartalle.
Kyllä. Hyvää loppupäivää.
Iltaa.
Mitä muuten sanoa? Mä en tiedä, mitä mä olin sanomassa. Mutta hyvää kiitos kuitenkin. Kaikille. Kaikille. Yes, moi moi.
Moi moi.